Hello and welcome to the Lotus Club. I am Dave C, and Dominaria is finally out. We're going to dive straight into our first draft. We're doing an intermediate league because I like to play the full rounds with my first couple of decks, but I think straight away we've got a pretty easy pick. Temporal Sundering can be pretty powerful, but I think Bolus's Clutches is just more powerful. Temporal Sundering is take an extra turn and bounce one of their non-land permanents, but you need to have a planeswalker or legendary creature in play, and the likelihood of getting enough legendaries to make this powerful, I don't think is too high. There is a legend in every pack the way it works out, but the legendary creatures are quite high picks. You just can't guarantee the power level of Temporal Sundering, and Bolus's Clutches might honestly just be the top 5 card in the set. That includes mythics and rares. Beyond that, I think we have not too much else. This isn't a strong pack besides the Sundering. Unfortunately, it means the person next to us is probably going to go in. Wow, okay, well. Uncommon missing over Saheeli, Voice of Plenty. I love picking this card because it's just a 4-mana tree, 4-flyer. People are going to misunderstand and think this is a double-colored card, that you need green mana to make it work. That's very far from the truth. Besides that, I don't know the names, I'm just going to call this Paragon, I can't pronounce their names, is an excellent card. Juggernaut's excellent. Journey, Mage, Sphinx. It's very hard to rate the blue commons. There's so many good blue commons, I don't know which one's the best one. Both these cards are excellent. I'd probably hedge towards the Journey Mage. And Pegasus Corsair is fantastic as well. Going into a second color, blue is very open and we passed a good blue card, so the person next to us might pick up on that. But I don't mind too much what I'm passing as long as I'm getting excellent cards. This pack, not as easy to decide what to do. I think the best card is Ancient Animus, which is just Pounce, except if it's a legendary permanent, legendary creature, it gets +1/+1, which makes it insane. Divination, Gideon's Reproach are fine. I could take Gideon's Reproach and stay in white and keep open for blue. But I think Ancient Animus, and if I end up in green, white, I'm pretty happy here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. We could take the Surveyor. It goes in every deck. But I think Pegasus Corsair is just better, and I think Pegasus Corsair is going to be a really good, especially paired with green, giving there's a 4-mana 4/4 common, giving that flying is insane. But I think that Surveyor is going to go underrated for the first couple weeks, but is an insane card so far for me. Speak of the Devil, 4-mana 4/4 at common. We could also just take Avon Sentry to stay open, but the blue is not flowing as much as it did in the opening picks. This way I can cut off green pretty heavily, and as I said, ending up in green white, even though I'm abandoning probably the best uncommon of one of the best cards in the set, is annoying, but I still think worth it. Could still pivot to blue. I don't mind abandoning a couple picks, but it's looking very much like we're locking in here. No blue cards ready to speak of. Void is pretty decent, though. We're still in a possibility where we end up splashing in Bolus's Clutches. So I think I'd rather avoid the Void. And I could get an Honor Guard or an Envoy to help us splash the Clutches. I think I want to go Honor Guard. I think I want to try and be more aggressive and low to the ground. Couple of picks here. Yavimaya Shepherd is the one that jumps out as me as probably the best card in the pack. I think that the Sanctum Spirit is a bit overrated, and in general, you're not going to want to discard cards to it that often, and it's a bit understated, so sometimes they can just play a blocker you can't run into. So I'm going to pick the Shepherd. Okay, now left with a bunch of blue cards, which is a little scary. Maybe makes me think we've gone down the wrong path here. I don't think the Ooze is that impressive, but it's what we're going to take here. The problem with green-white traditionally, and what I'm falling into a bit here, is that a lot of the time you can just end up with a creature deck. Oh, I just got 16 random derps and they're all fine to find plus. But that necessarily isn't good enough all the time. You need more removal, you need more tricks, you need more powerful spells. Sometimes that is also fine. We'll see what we get. Actually see if there's anyone I know I'm passing to. I always like doing this. None of these are fantastic for us. I'm going to hedge by taking a relic. Our runner could set it up in our deck. Checking if I know any of the names. I do not. As I said at the start of the draft, I like doing intermediate drafts. This is something Ziggy wrote about in an article on Channel Fireball a couple of years ago, I think now. At least a year ago. He likes doing the intermediate leagues for the first 4 or 5 drafts, and it's just because he gets to play against cards more. He gets to see how his deck actually is. There's no point in playing one game with a deck you think is excellent. You get absolutely destroyed in the first round, and you get some bad biasm. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but you build bad biases, and you think that your deck is bad, and you might have drafted badly. In reality, it's good, and that might set you back a couple of weeks of testing. So I'd always recommend for the first just 4 or 5 drafts you do, unless you immediately click with the format, I guess, do some intermediate leagues. This last couple picks going a little slowly, apologies. This can actually be quite good. We don't have any, we don't have On Sarah's Wings or, what's the name, what's the green one, and the green sagas, I forget the sagas' names in green. We don't have anything to get back yet, but we could, and as I said, I think sagas are something I want to pick up. This guy's like excellent in sealed, but I think is only going to be average in draft, and I think that I prefer the decent combat trick. As I said, even though the creature might end up being a little bit better, with green-white you can end up falling into the trap of, hey, I just got a bunch of dudes and they don't really do anything and they just trade with their on-curve dudes. Got another Courser, which I said I really like with green creatures. I think this goes up a little bit in the pick order if you're green, white. It's still great in any color combination. It might end up being one of white's best commons, but I think especially in green. Not close to red. Was close to... No, not close to black, sorry. I was close to blue, but there's no blue card. I think it's just Pegasus over Prime of Femref. I don't have any first strike creatures at the moment. Big question is, if blue ends up being reopened in this pack, what do I do? If blue ended up being really open here, which it shouldn't be, because I think I cook green pretty well. But if blue ended up being really open here, would I just move into blue-white? We get a Wild Onslaught, though. 4 mana, put a counter on everything. 8 mana, put 2 counters on everything. And again, as we said, we need stuff to force through with this kind of archetype. Fine first 2 picks here. Pegasus, Wild Onslaught, not exactly the picks of my dreams. I'd like to be picking up some removal spells here. But still good. Still high tier picks for my deck. And Surveyor's fine. Again, we might want to splash in Bolas's Clutch. But I think Gorger is really good here. No real white cards, which is a little bit worrying. But the green cards are still flowing. I still have Surveyor if I wanted. Sphinx. As I said, there's a lot of good blue commons, so maybe it's not a signal, but Sphinx is very strong. We are kind of committed to our color combination, though. If we remove any of these colors, I don't think we'll end up with enough playables, especially the white. Oh, sorry, especially the green, because we only have 4 white playables, actually. We go to 5, we go to 6. I'd play the Poet with the clutches. That would be 7, plus whatever we pick up that pick 8 at this stage. Would be very far from enough. Sick. Okay, well, this is like a top tier pick. That's a very late Shivan Fire. This is a really good trapper. I've had very good experiences with it, and I've hated when my opponents played it. But Untamed Kavu, not amazing on turn 2, but excellent on turn 5. 5 mana, 5/5 Vigilance Trample, and fills in the curve at 2 when you need it to. Absolutely perfect. If we know we have a Pegasus Corsair, we might drop it on 2, followed by Corsair, followed by a 4, you know? Another Bailout, maybe. Maybe we just want another 2 in Misa. Misa Unicorn. Or we take this Eviscerate. It's 1 black. We don't have that much removal. It's not going to be too hard in our deck to end up splashing. We're heavy green with a bit of white. And I think a 3rd Bailout is not what we're asking for at the moment. I think the Unicorn would go to Bailout, even though I think Bailout is better. And I think that I'm probably going to end up splashing this Eviscerate if I get any kind of fixing. Another Bailout or a Sapling Migration. I'm looking at the Migration, honestly. Again, I have 2 Bailouts. They're good creatures, but I have some decent 4-drops, and I have a Wild Onslaught. So, like, I kick one of these into an Onslaught usually is pretty good. I also have Voice of Plenty. So I have 2 kind of Anthem effects already to go with these. And as I said, it's just kind of a derp. As I said before, just a 4 mana 4/4. It's a weird day in Magic that I'm looking down at 4 mana 4/4, but I think our deck needs the Migration more. I kind of wish I took it because I got my 3rd Pegasus Corsair. I think that's better than these combat tricks. Oh, nice. We get pretty rewarded for picking up our Sapling Migration and any kind of Sapling cards going forward. It's insane with the Shepherd, which is already a very good card. This is kind of a late Clifftop Retreat when we could take it to see if we could splash with it, but no way I'm letting a Talid go here. Take a Shivan Fire, I think, here. And we have our choice of maybe what to splash depending what other cards we get and what fixing we get. That's a stupid late Shivan Fire. It's the best red common, I think. I think card I'm most likely to play is Gaze Protect. I know I'm most likely to sideboard this in. I don't think I'm likely to play Dead Protector at all. Did not see Invoke the Divine there for a second. And I don't think I'm in the strategy for this. I think you need to be more ramping. Like, it's fine, but it's not much better than the Gorgers and stuff and other 6-drops you can get. This is a late Talid Soothsayer. It makes me feel like Black probably wasn't open pack 1, but it feels like what are named the creatures? Saprolings. I'm blanking so much tonight. Saprolings were open. This is a playable. I'd rather not play it. Like, I think LSV and Marshall described it perfectly. It's like Opt, where technically when it's in your deck, the card is a C to C+, but you just never end up putting it in your deck. Nice. On Sarah's Wings is super powerful. Maybe gives us a reason to play the Poet, but I'd want 1 or 2 more enchantments before I did. Bard, I think, is kind of overestimated. Unless you have a lot of Legends Matter. He's, like, fine. There's nothing wrong with him. I'd start him in my deck every time. But on Sarah's Wings is sometimes just unbeatable for certain decks. Especially, again, in green, where we have all these fatties. There's a big difference between giving a random 2/2 flying or giving a, like, Untamed Kavu or Gorge are fine, you know? What does this one do? Turn target instant from your graveyard to your hand. Return target sorcery from your graveyard to your hand until end of turn whenever you cast an instant or... Ooh. That's pretty good, though we do not have the deck to abuse it. We get a sapling migration here, which is fine. I would love to be in this deck. I think this deck is going to be one of the hardest to get, but we have both a Fire Fist Adept and a Cinder Wind. I think you have to actually take the Fire Fist Adept and hope this tables if you were in the archetype. But I think Blue-Red Wizards is sick, but you need a bunch of uncommons, I think, for the deck to be, like, broken. Man, someone's in this wizard deck and they are getting paid off. I'll take a Reproach to have a removal spell. A lot of playables already. Probably a decent amount of cuts. Like, a lot of these 2-mana 2/2 is not looking as impressive now that I have some cards with upside. So I have to decide exactly what our splash is. But we have some powerful uncommons. I'm pretty happy with the direction the deck is going so far. Another thing I love about the Coursers is that they block so well when they come down on turn 2 as well. I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's a creature that can attack and block profitably. I'll take a Short Sword. I think Short Sword is looking good, especially we picked up our second migration. Make creatures that end up being mediocre great. Red very open here with a Phoenix as well in the pack. It kind of feels like someone might have changed archetypes somewhere here. And now there's a pretty late Chronicler. I think I'd just take another Reproach over a second Short Sword. This pack is going pretty medium. Though, out of nowhere, we have a bunch of good cards. We have a Fungal Plots, which is just very good in every deck. Every green deck, I think. And we have a Many of Dominaria, which I think is about bomb level card. So we're taking... It's like, maybe it's loose to call it a bomb, but it's extremely good. And yeah, Aven Sentry is fine. Nothing ever wrong with an Aven Sentry. It would be very hard push to ever cut an Aven Sentry from your deck. This is currently the deck with no splashes. Ooh, man, we had no picks for ages. I was belly aching, and then all of a sudden, Llanowar Elf or Shepherd. Shepherd is great with Wild Onslaught. It's great with the Voice of Plenty. It's great with the Talid. I think, though, that I want the Llanowar Elf. I think the power boost it gives our deck is pretty big. And Llanowar Elf also works well with these like pump effects. It's good in the early game, and in late game it gains relevance. I think that's a really close pick at this stage. We have some good 3-mana things to hit as well. That's how the deck is looking at the moment. This is without a splash as well, because we've also taken out the Envoy. It's not looking too easy for us to splash. That means we just killed like best common in the color, one of the best, if not the best uncommon in the set on other people. We're just dragging the power out of this draft. Might end up cutting the Impulse for something, especially if we get something good late here. I'm also not the biggest fan of Reproaches in general. The Honor Guard also actually looks pretty bad in our deck. This is a 2/2, 90% of the time. Huh, that's a nice table. Like, as I said, this card isn't amazing, but I think it's good. I would barely ever cut it. Only Reproaches and an Animus as removal in the main deck. No uncommon removal. We could splash Eviscerate. I think I would splash Eviscerate over the fire if we have no type of fixing. I think I'll take a Unicorn. Might end up playing it. Seems at the moment very much, unless I draw on Sarah's Wings or the Voice of Plenty, our deck is going to flounder a little bit. We have some other draws, and we do have this Wild Onslaught, might do work. Maybe the Pegasi do enough. Maybe this card isn't as good as I think, but it seems pretty insane. I like the deck. The Untamed Kavu is actually also in this slot like 90% of the time, I think, in this deck. Oh, did not mean to actually pick that. It kind of lagged out there. Was just considering what's going to be best in someone else's deck, but it's very unlikely you face people in your pod anyway, so send a good karma out. Random uncommon. And yeah, I think we ended up in the right color combination anyway. There was some evidence that we should have been red-blue coming into pack 3, but people could have just changed around what they were in. Okay, what do we have here? I said I wouldn't cut this card, but it's looking very much like I might cut this card. 2 migrations. No, it's probably just this. Double Reproach. I don't think I actually want to splash. I have double costs and a bunch of cards. I would have to play like 2 black sources because we didn't end up taking a Surveyor. If you'd taken one of those early Surveyors, I think I'd happily play 1 Swamp and play it. But I'd rather just stick with this beatdown. We're 17 lands, I think, because we have some kickers in case we flood out, and we have this as a mana sink. We also have this, which kind of counts as an 18th land that also gets buffed by our cards, so it's fine. And this deck seems maybe average to above average. Its removal is quite medium. Double Reproach, Animus. We also only have 2 legendary creatures to use with Animus. But I think it's going to be pretty fine. Not exactly slam dunk excellent, but definitely this could win a draft. Okay, stay tuned to see how the rounds go, and I'll see you for matches.